Whether or not you're leading a team of data scientists or hands-on with the data directly, you need to understand how data works.
Welcome to Velocitize Talks. I'm Andy North. I'm joined today by Liz Lukas, CEO of the Americas for Decoded. Liz,
hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're so excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Decoded and some of the exciting things you're working on.
Decoded is a technology education company, and we've been around for about 8 years. And we've been on this amazing journey with the companies that we work with. We've sort of evolved from there, where we're now working with leadership teams, working with C-suite teams, working with new hires on really kind of showing them the landscape of technology and how it is impacting the way we do business, the way we talk to our customers. So it's a really, really exciting time for us to, give people a really sort of solid foundation on what is happening in the tech landscape and how they should care about it, why they should care about it.
We're here at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
And you have a rather ominous sounding panel,
Yeah.
AI and the Threat to Democracy.
Yeah.
Which is really more about demystifying the threat to our democracy. Is that correct?
When we talk about the education that we provide to our clients, we look at 4 different mindsets. We look at the developer mindset, the innovation mindset, the data mindset, and the cybersecurity mindset. And this particular talk dives into 2 of those mindsets, which is the data mindset and the cybersecurity mindset. And those are 2 mindsets that people are pretty terrified about. Right? You go, I'm not a data scientist, I don't understand this, what does this mean? And you think about kind of the people that understand this world, and it's like the 1% of the 1%, right? It's such a small population of people that understand data and such a small population of people that understand cybersecurity. And given all the things that people have to think about and worry about today, it's like the last thing on their list. They're like, somebody else is going to sort that out. And that's a mistake.
Well, in an age where Facebook has suddenly come out and said, we're going to focus on privacy now, what do you think the ramifications are for that, particularly in light of the Cambridge Analytica scandal and so forth?
They're dealing with a lot. And I think that, they're a platform that, from a user experience perspective, is about connecting people. It's amazing. I can find my, friend from college, 20 years ago, and it's an amazing platform. But I think when you start to peel it back and you start to realize kind of what it actually is, it's not a free platform. It is a platform that collects a lot of data and a lot of information about the way we live, about the way we talk to each other, about our friends, about our networks. And when you start to actually peel that back and you think about what that is, then you realize that they're sitting on probably the world's largest collection of personally identifiable data. And they're monetizing that with advertisers. So what do I think about their view on privacy? I mean, it is a fundamental business shift for them. If they're going to take their messaging systems and provide end-to-end encryption, then you don't know who they're talking to. You don't know what they're saying. How do you monetize that? And will the news feed even still exist? Do people care about that? Really, all I want to do as an end user is talk to my mom or talk to my sister-in-law in France. I don't want to be fed some random new yoga pant that has come out, and yet I do, because that's who they think I am. There's a journey, and we're on that journey. And I think it's our responsibility to sort of ask these companies that where we're using free services, why is it free? How are they monetizing it? And understanding those decisions.
Decoded used to offer a coding in a day course, and you talked about the other 4 courses that you offer now. Why is it so important for marketers to understand that level, at the coding level?
When we did Code in a Day, we originally designed that product for the advertising industry. 3 of the 4 founders are from advertising. My background is from advertising. And the idea was, could we get creatives actually to be able to rapidly prototype their ideas? Because at the time, all you were seeing were like TV ad representations or even like classic media representations of ideas. And we believed that we could give people the tools and the knowledge to be able to express those in the digital world very quickly. So that it wasn't about kind of a brand agency versus a digital agency. Everyone could participate in this expression. And I think what we actually discovered in rolling that class out is that regardless of whether or not you were going to start applying that learning back into the workplace, you needed those skills to be able to navigate, to hire teams, to brief developers, to understand how long things took. And the outcome of that was much different than what we originally intended in the building of the product. Today, what we do, because time is increasingly precious, is we've distilled that program down into a 3-hour leadership session. And I think a big shift that we're seeing is around not just the developer skills, but the data science skills.
Personalization is the big buzzword now in the industry, and I don't know if we've achieved that holy grail quite yet. Where do you see that trend going as far as personalization? Are we able to get there within the next 3 to 5 years, or is this just something that we're going to continue to work towards?
The data exists, the technology exists. We've seen it be applied in very powerful ways. And you know, the degree to which it's being applied in more traditional businesses that are going through kind of a digital transformation. And, you know, we see often when we're doing these workshops is clients will say, I have a ton of data. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where it sits. I don't know how to connect it. I don't know how to use that data to drive insight. You have people there that intimately know their product, intimately know the marketplace, but they're just missing this critical skill to be able to live in this new world of data. And so one of our new sort of products is called a Data Academy, where we actually bring those skills into the enterprise by taking people through these like sprints where they start to learn a whole new toolkit. Whether or not you're leading a team of data scientists or hands-on with the data directly, you need to understand how data works, how it's expressed, how you can ask questions of it, how you can gain insight from it to optimize your team, optimize kind of what you're doing.
You wrote a great article about digital transformation last year, and in it you talked about some of the common assumptions that are out there that may need some reshaping, such as hire more millennials and you'll have a new digitalization within your company. What were some of those common assumptions that perhaps have been reshaped, and have you seen them start to reshape even further since then?
When we go and talk to companies, these are huge Fortune 500 companies, and they talk about, you know, well, our strategies, we're going to bring in a lot of young people, and they're going to help us become more digital. They're going to help us realize our digital ambition. And we sort of always caution people to say, listen, you have a lot of people that have been here 5, 10, 15, 30 years in your company that know this company inside out. They know where the secrets are buried, but they know how the company works. And to make this kind of leap that just because you're digitally native, that you're digitally proficient is a mistake. I would argue that people, when we go and we teach adults and we say, think back to your first computer, think to the first time you were coding, they were doing kind of logic. They were doing like if-and statements. They were actually programming a computer. Whereas millennials, their first computer is like an iPad. It's all like, they're not directing anything, so they don't know any of the computational thinking behind computing, right, because it's been so frictionless.
Are there any other disruptive technologies that you see coming within the next several years that will play a heavy hand in some of this?
The direction that we're heading in terms of machine learning and what the technology is capable of doing is something we should all absolutely understand. I think blockchain is an area that we have a lot of finance clients. A lot of finance clients are watching that very closely. A lot of times these things are there's a lot of hype around it, and if you can understand the fundamental sort of underpinning of the technology, then you can kind of cut through the hype and be like, okay, this is actually where the technology is today. It's not, we're not all going to be replaced by AI-driven robots, or blockchain's not going to like wipe out every bank. If you understand that, then you can kind of take some of the fear and the apprehension around the progression of that technology.
We're in an age of Netflix and Spotify and so forth, where it's kind of personalized, but it's based on some assumptions about you. So, for instance, your feed is going to be different from your husband's feed or your friend's feed.
Yeah.
Where is that going? Are we anywhere near? Or are we just still in the infancy?
I think it's a really interesting point in which we're in, because you have to sort of step back, and on one side you want, do you have free will? Do you have the ability to make decisions about the things that you want to see? And then on the other side of it, you have like, well, there's so many choices. Can you just help me decide? So if I'm making a decision on Amazon about kind of what yogurt I want to put in my Prime basket, I want them to just feed up something that I've purchased before, because it's not a very critical decision, right? I've already made it, just help me make it again. If I'm making a decision about something a little bit more critical, like what doctor do I get to see? What school do I get to go to? What politician do I put in office? You want to be able to see all of the options. It's something we need to be aware of, because it's happening all around us today, and I think it will happen increasingly in the future.
Do you see AI catching up to that and saying, okay, it's the level of decision that matters here? The yogurt, we're not worried about, but when it's a little bit bigger than that and it involves health or education or what have you, will AI eventually get to that level?
One of the things that we should think about is, for these companies, how are you forming rules around the decisions that the machine is making? And what level of transparency will you provide to your consumers around those decision protocols, so that we can see, actually, we're being filtered in this manner or not? We should continue to ask those questions. And there's things like the OpenAI project, and lots of different streams of activity that are starting up to help us monitor and help us understand this, because there's a lot of societal implications to this. But I think it's a rapidly evolving space.
Speaking of questions, there are so many more I could ask you and so many avenues we could go down, but I want to make sure we include one of the questions we ask all our guests, which is there a book, a blog, or a podcast that you'd like to recommend to our viewers?
I currently have about 6 books going at any one time on my bookshelf, and that could range from like Sapiens all the way to like Ray Dalio's Principles to a book on transcendental meditation. So for me, it's spanning the gamut.
My guest today has been Liz Lukas, CEO of the Americas for Decoded. Liz, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.